Thank you very much. You have to say that I'm astonished that from the fact that we save 5 minutes with respect to the scheduled time.
I can use it.
No. Those are we can use. We can use this. We can use this time because now we open a discussion. We have a 15-minute discussion before going to the last panel. So the word is up to you. Waiting for other question. I have a question, if you allow me to do that.
Thanks,
Okay.
everyone. Fantastic
Sorry.
talks. And well, my question is very simple. It's addressed to everyone, especially to the last speaker. I mean, clearly we're going the opposite way. We've got TTIP. I mean, we've got a global capital that is in position to, in fact, create secret deals on which to promote law. And, on the left, we always have this problem from theory to practice. So frankly, I agree with everything you said, but how do we do that? Because this other system is overwhelming. It's overwhelming, and we need to start thinking how we realize the radical ideas we've got. Thanks.
Yes, it seems a little bit peculiar that we have talked about almost all morning, and nobody used till now the word democracy in relation to the commons. And I suppose I would like to ask Ugo and Federica to say a few words about this, making a little bit of a connection, especially for us that are living in Greece right now. Let's just say the zenith of these non-democratic policies imposed on a whole bunch of people, especially after the referendum. We see a complete snoring of the EU institutions on any sorts of democracy, even the one of the parliamentarism as we know it.
Here.
Hi, I was in Rome at the beginning of Teatro Valle and participated a bit, and it was an amazing initiative, and it was amazing the breadth of participants you brought in, and the shows were incredible, doing it on virtually no budget. But you were talking about sustainability, and there was always the thought in the back of my head, how long is this possibly going to last before it gets shut down and sold? And I just wonder how it did end, and how.
I'm sorry. How lasted that much?
Yeah, or how, and what has happened since to the whole initiative of Teatro Valle?
Oh, wow, that's a whole nother panel. Scusate.
We are collecting all the questions just to give only one answer by the different speakers.
Hi, thank you all. So I was just thinking in terms of creating a new legal system and a lot of the projects that were mentioned on the panel, the kind of...
You don't hear, you have to...
okay. Do you hear me now? So in terms of creating a new legal system, a lot of the kind of talks on the panel take certain like incremental legal changes, whether it's like occupying a building or kind of using space in a different way. And these are kind of very much challenging 1 or 2 or 3 laws. But in terms of implementing a new legal system and taking the civil rights movement as a kind of focal point, it was done through kind of like these incremental illegal acts, and how to form like a whole legal body from these specific illegal points, like the methodology and the specific points you want to go to first, if that makes sense. Like what policies first, and would you even call them policies in that case? So.
We have time for 2 more questions. There is one up.
Hi. The question about the legal system. I mean, I think it's. I see the importance, but the other side is that we have had certain experiences, especially in the field of recuperations, factory recuperations, for example, where since they made a specific law about factory recuperations in Argentina, factory recuperations went down, even if they created a law to how to legalize the whole procedure. Same thing in Brazil, after they made a law to legalize the way recuperations work, there haven't been any recuperations anymore. And the tricky thing about that was that with the law, you turned a social process of struggle into a bureaucratic process and bureaucratic procedure. While without a law, workers were all the same, not depending on their skills with administration, with fundings, with whatever, with laws, etc. And with the administrative process, it became something where you have specialized people that work on their own in little rooms, and you don't have public confrontation. You don't have the struggle anymore. It's not visible to the outside anymore what is happening. So the consequence was that the recuperations went down, even if they had a law that was supposed to be favorable for them. And it turned from a social process into a bureaucratic administrative process. And the struggle, and it was not even an example anymore, because it was not visible anymore to others. Because one thing is you occupy a factory, you mobilize every day, you're in the streets, you set up political pressure to nationalize or expropriate the factory, and the other thing is you're suddenly in this pre-planned administrative process that is not visible to the outside, so it doesn't create, neither does it incentivate others to do the same thing, nor is it visible, nor can it connect to other movements without this visibility. So something that many people thought would be or could be a solution to the problem, in fact, didn't make it any better. And by the way, the administrative process takes about twice as much time as the legalization of a recuperation needed before the law was introduced. So it's, and I think it doesn't mean that laws are not necessary or not useful, because certain things can't, like for example for the recuperation here in Greece, it would be obviously a very good idea to have a law where you say, okay, if a factory closes down, then the workers are the first ones to have the right to decide how to go on to get the money, etc., and not the banks and the others. So, but I think it's not that easy that that a law is a solution automatically because it tries to solve something.
One question more, the last one. No, just Margarita talk with the microphone.
She can go. Yeah, but I can go after.
I was just going to sort of in tandem with what Dario was just saying, that I think we don't want to make the mistake of calling this civil rights legislation of 1964 the emancipation of the African American community in the United States. It was only one step and a tool, and certainly it provided formal equal rights in some sectors, but the emancipation hasn't happened. There's a struggle on the ground now to continue the project of emancipation of African Americans. And I don't want to diminish the importance of the civil rights law, but I don't want to sort of suggest that one legal change transforms society in the way that the goals of the movement had in mind.
Yeah, hi. It's a short question. I want to go back to the conversation about immaterial labor, or material or immaterial production. I want to just understand this implicit. I'm like following my stream of thought. Let's say that material production is a final point. Like with material production, you have a final point, a final product, or a final thing, or a final accomplishment. And with a material production, you have a process. Okay, I'm just making a rhetoric question in order for you to follow me. and also myself to follow my thoughts. So if we base our struggle into material production, and we struggle with material terms, with immaterial terms, then we're doing kind of a circle. You know, we basically use tools that they are for material production cause with immaterial tools. For example, with the occupation of the factory, the workers know that if they occupy the space, they are doing this in order to take the means of production, in order to have material final point, in order to be able to produce. But in case of Teatro Valle, for example, where you have cultural production, which is most of the times called immaterial, and you have an occupation of a space that is a theater, and this theater is produced inside this space, you use the immaterial production to struggle for the theater, to struggle for the space, for the place of the production of this immaterial struggle. So this is something that I have a long kind of like, I'm thinking through, and maybe the struggle should shift from the struggle of an occupation of the space for production to take place, for the occupation of time that this is taking place. Basically the reverse. And through the occupation of time, like where we base our everyday doings or actions or things that every day we are accomplishing, maybe there is a possibility of creation of new spaces of production, of material production. And that's a process that we need to think through what kind of subjectivities those can be created from.
Thanks. Now we start to give answers by reversing the order.
Yes, I will, because I will be very short. I think this issue you raised could be a very good one to work on the workshop tomorrow morning. This would be, you won't be there? Okay, perfect. And very shortly on democracy and commons, I can say that the experience of commoning made clear that participation is not enough character in order to qualify it as a democratic process or whatever. We know that European Union policies are all about citizens' participation, but the decision is elsewhere. Also, the epistemic decision, that is the framework in which activities are selected in order to have fundings or whatever, or the frameworks where activities can represent themselves. So participation is not enough. We had the problem in Italy, for instance, that commoning transformed itself in a sort of case of big Cameronian big society with citizens volunteering for nothing. It was in Bologna that there was the model of the social street, neighbors taking care of their street, but it was only that they were volunteering where the municipality wasn't taking care with the welfare anymore. So participation is not enough. I think we should go back to democracy and think about it in terms of taking back, reappropriating decision in a collective dimension, of course.
Well, this is the problem of trying to explain to present in 10 minutes a book. So the thing that I would naturally say is that maybe I hope that someone will read it. But the point here is that starting from the first question, that the legal system as we understand it today, so the regime of knowledge we all share about the law, emerge in these questions as well. the law is seen as something that exists, is created, is out there, is transcendent in its power, and it works anyway, okay? So how do we do if a law is passed? Very simple, we resist it, okay? This is a much more radical call. It's a call for organized disobedience when a legal system is not in tune with nature and community, okay? That means that then there is just a call for disobedience first, and then there is also a call for starting to think law in a different way, which requires to know how we got to think about the law the way we all did it. And the question about the factories that was posed before is very, very interesting. I don't argue for obtaining some sort of top-down legal recognition of any kind of practice. I don't think that that is where we should look at an ecological legal order. An ecological legal order gives back sovereignty to communities and to bodies, to where actually the impact of the law ultimately occur, which is in the lives of everybody, okay? So an ecological legal order is not something that is given from the top down. It's something that is recreated and that it takes away the roots to the old order, making it illegitimate and eventually crumble. I totally agree 100% that the emancipation of the black people is far from having happened in the United States. I mean, only an idiot might believe that. Clearly, what happened, however, is that in the dominant discourse about what is legal or illegal today in the United States, would be illegal to discriminate, at least formally, a black person, whereas at the time it was perfectly legal. And the things would not have changed if not because of acts of organized disobedience that takes whatever it is needed in order to table in the overall discussion the fundamental issue. And there was also a fundamental moral issue out there. Today, I believe we need and we do have a fundamental moral issue to live and to respect, which is the fact that as a society, as an organized, as Anthropocene, as people in this planet, we are systematically violating the fundamental laws of reproduction of ecology that in science we know and we understand how they work. And the reason why we disobey these laws is because we don't see their impact, because the impact is disproportionately bared by different groups of people. But what we are doing today as a society, if we don't resist, if we don't rewrite our rules of the game with radical ruptures and collective acts of resistance as opposition, is exactly like what someone would do if it climbs the mountain, forgetting and giving a damn about the laws of Newton, the laws of gravity. If you climb a mountain and you don't care about the laws of gravity, you fall at the ground and you die. As a society, if we don't give a damn to the law of ecological sustainability now, which are as scientific as the laws of Newton, and actually in science they do now know very much that even the laws of Newton are not as strict as the other ones, okay? If we don't do that as a society altogether, and we carry responsibility and duty to do that, we are going to have exactly the same fate of someone who doesn't care about the laws of Newton by climbing a mountain. We will crash as a society. And so this is enough of a point to create a principled reason to exercise organized disobedience and subversion of the current legal order, which includes the top-down idea of the law that we all share because we've been brainwashed by this positivistic vision of the legal system as something that exists out there and is transcendent.
Yeah, I would like to just translate the word that Mattei Ugo said about in our empirical experience. Yes, I think, for example, in our community where we are working, we are starting to understand this complexity through, and I'm saying we, a very large we, because there is like normal people, not people that study political philosophy. Because every step we do, we see that there is a limit that we have to go beyond. For example, the first limit, everybody was pushing us to say, no, but you produce organic stuff, organic material, and there is a huge market that is waiting you, no? You can export your products in Germany, in Belgium, in north of Italy, and but we say, okay, but the people here there is a huge cancer rate here, no? There is the hugest cancer rate. How we produce these products and we sell outside when our people is dying. So yeah, this was the, and it was already, and we also the legal limit was first legal limit was we went beyond, because we say, okay, now we have to find another economy that is not the market that we are facing. We have to create another system where the solidarity is the main issue here, no? And step by step, the people, everybody is understanding really where is the point. Even for TTIP, for example, that is the huge political decision that is coming now in Europe. The only thing is to create example of resistance and disobeying. Also, I believe really that we need to organize locally very strongly with the global consciousness about what is happening, because the complexity it's very visible when you try to do physical things, to change the things.
Yeah, very quickly.
Very briefly.
So you were asking why it ended, or what we've done this year? Well, it's very difficult to answer in a minute. I would say that the same limitations and obstacles that we found in order to respond, for example, to self-exploitation, we weren't really able to organize a constant practical income for those who were living there and staying constantly there. Normal life is another reason. The fact that the political phase in Italy is increasingly declining concerning the realm of public space versus private, and the commons, we could say, didn't achieve a status of legality or diffusive practice, or actually it declined a little in the last years also. Repression, not to talk about a strong repression in the last year and a half. In Rome especially, not only, but in Italy in general, and all the spaces that were entrepreneuring and experimenting new ways and basically practices of commoning. An entropic level of internal conflict, so and this is also has been expanding in the year that we were outside the theater. So in a way, those forces could be contained, and then without walls, it was a little bit more difficult. I mean, there are a lot of reasons and a lot of complexities. So this is just a brief list, but and it can't be, of course, a list because they're all intersected and intertwined. But I hope a little bit I gave you the idea.
Thank you very much. If I can add something, I can say that eviction is a constant part of our life. So we have to take in account of this kind of reason too. Thank you very much.